Okay, so let me start by saying that winning Employee of the Year sounds great in theory. Like, congratulations, your soul-crushing dedication to Excel spreadsheets has finally been recognized. Pop the champagne, right? Wrong. Because my prize wasn't a bonus. It wasn't a promotion. It wasn't even a gift card to that coffee shop that spells everyone's name wrong. No, my prize was a mandatory 3-day leadership mentoring retreat with CEO Han Ji-woo. Just me and him, alone, in a mountain cabin. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to the exact moment my carefully constructed life of corporate invisibility came crashing down. It was Friday afternoon, and the conference room smelled like burnt coffee and someone's regrettable tuna sandwich. We were all crammed in there for the annual award ceremony. You know, that corporate ritual where management pretends to care and employees pretend to be excited about branded USB drives. I was sitting in the back row playing a very subtle game on my phone under the table when I heard my name. Yuna from HR, wearing what can only be described as aggressively cheerful business casual, was standing at the podium with a microphone. And this year's Employee of the Year goes to Kei Nakamura from accounting. I dropped my phone. It clattered to the floor and everyone turned to look at me. Wait, what? No. There has to be a mistake. I specifically calculated my performance to be exactly average. I'm a master of mediocrity. I even came in late twice last quarter just to throw off the algorithm. My face was doing that thing where it turns red and splotchy patches like a sad sunburned tomato. I stood up so fast I knocked my chair backward. It made this horrible scraping sound that echoed through the silent room. I stammered something, I honestly don't remember what, and shuffled to the front like a man walking to his execution. The plaque was heavy glass with my name engraved incorrectly as Kai Nakamura. I accepted it with sweaty palms while Yuna beamed at me like I'd just won an Olympic medal. Now, she said into the microphone, her voice dripping with enthusiasm, this year, instead of the usual cash bonus, there's a usual cash bonus? Nobody told me about a usual cash bonus. Instead, our Employee of the Year will receive an exclusive leadership mentoring retreat with our CEO, Mr. Han Ji-woo himself. 3 days, 2 nights at our executive mountain cabin. You leave tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The room went silent. Someone coughed. I'm pretty sure I heard someone whisper, "Poor bastard." Let me paint you a picture of Han Ji-woo. He's 6 feet tall, maybe 6'1" if you count the aura of intimidation that surrounds him at all times. He wears suits that cost more than my car and has this way of looking at people that makes you instantly start mentally reviewing every mistake you've ever made in your life. Last year, he made an intern cry just by asking, "Is this your best work?" In the same tone you'd say, "Is this rotting garbage?" He doesn't smile. He doesn't do small talk. At the Christmas party last year, someone claimed they saw him almost laugh at a joke and it became office legend. People still talk about it in hushed tones by the water cooler. And I was going to be trapped in a cabin with him for 3 days. I think I said something like, "That's so, wow, thank you." But it came out sounding like a question because my brain was actively planning an escape route. Yuna patted my shoulder enthusiastically and whispered, "This is such an honor. Mr. Han specifically approved your selection."
He specifically approved me? Why? What did I do? Is this punishment for something? Did he find out I accidentally used the executive bathroom that one time? I spent the rest of the day in a fog of panic, and that night I packed my bag 4 times, then unpacked it 3 times because I kept overthinking what you're supposed to bring to a corporate retreat with your terrifying CEO. Professional casual? Business casual? Casual casual? Do CEOs even understand the concept of casual? I finally settled on jeans, a button-up shirt, and the kind of sweater my mom bought me that makes me look like I'm trying too hard to seem approachable. I didn't sleep. At all. At 5:45 a.m., I was standing outside my apartment building with my overnight bag, watching my breath turn into little clouds in the freezing air. The company car pulled up exactly at 6 a.m., because of course it did, and that's when I saw him. Mr. Han was standing beside a sleek black sedan, wearing a charcoal gray sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent and dark slacks that made him look like he'd just stepped out of a cologne advertisement. His hair was perfectly styled, and he was checking his watch with a kind of precision that suggested he knew the exact atomic time. I, on the other hand, was wearing a puffy jacket that made me look like a nervous marshmallow. He looked up as I approached, and I swear I saw his eyes do a quick scan of my entire outfit. I died a little inside. "Nakamura, right on time," he said, his voice smooth and professional. "Yes, sir. I'm very punctual, almost obsessively so. I actually woke up at 4 a.m. just to make sure I wouldn't be late, and then I was too awake to go back to sleep, so I reorganized my sock drawer by color and—" "Stop talking. Close your mouth. Why are you like this?" Mr. Han blinked at me, just once. Then he said, "I see. Let's go." He opened the back door, and I realized with horror that there was no driver. "I dismissed the driver," he said, as if reading my mind. "I prefer to drive myself." Oh, God, I'm going to be alone in a car with him for 2 hours. This is a nightmare. This is my actual nightmare. I once had a stress dream exactly like this. I climbed into the passenger seat, clutching my bag like a security blanket. Mr. Han slid into the driver's seat with a kind of graceful efficiency that made me aware of how ungracefully I'd just flopped into my seat like a dying fish. The engine started with a purr, and we pulled onto the empty morning streets. Silence. Complete, total, suffocating silence. Just the sound of the car engine and my internal screaming. I stared out the window at the buildings passing by, then at the dashboard, then at my hands, then back out the window. Mr. Han's hands were on the steering wheel, perfectly positioned at 10 and 2, because of course they were, and his expression was completely neutral. 20 minutes passed, then 30. I counted every passing streetlight. I mentally calculated the square root of random numbers. I tried to remember the lyrics to songs I hadn't heard since high school. Anything to avoid the crushing weight of the silence. Finally, I cracked. "Okay, Kay, you're a professional adult person part. You can make small talk. Normal humans do it all the time. Just say something. Anything. Weather. Everyone talks about weather. So, nice weather we're having." I said it too loud, way too loud, like I was announcing it to an auditorium. Mr. Han glanced at the sky through the windshield. It was completely overcast, gray and threatening. "It's supposed to snow," he said flatly. "Right, yes, snow. That's very wet and cold, both things that snow is famously known for being. I'm going to open this car door and throw myself onto the highway." Silence crashed back down like a heavy blanket. I tried again 15 minutes later. "So, how long have you been CEO?" 4 years. Wow, 4 years. That's like 48 months. Why am I like this? Mr. Han was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "You've been with the company for 3 years." I blinked. You know that?" "I read your file."
Oh.
He read my file. I decided to try one more time because apparently I hate myself. "Do you, do these retreats often?" "No." "Oh, so this is your first time too?" "Yes." Cool. Very cool. First times they're definitely times that happen. First. I literally bonked my forehead against the window, gently, just a soft bonk of despair. But then, and I swear I'm not making this up, I caught Mr. Han glancing at me out of the corner of his eye, and unless I was hallucinating from lack of sleep, I saw the tiniest twitch at the corner of his mouth. Was that a smile? No, impossible. More likely a muscle spasm. He cleared his throat and said, "The board thought this would be beneficial for leadership development." Right, yes, leadership. I'm very excited to develop that, my leadership, which I definitely have, somewhere. He made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh or might have been him choking on air. I couldn't tell. "You don't seem like someone who wants to lead,"
he said quietly. I froze. Was this a test? I guess I never really thought about it, I admitted. I just try to do good work and not bother anyone. I've noticed. He's noticed. He's noticed me, like specifically me, Key, the guy who once got stuck in the supply closet for 20 minutes because he didn't know it locked from the inside. That me? Why is my heart beating so fast? Is this a panic attack? Should I be concerned? I should have Googled heart attack symptoms in your 20s before this trip. Mr. Han turned on the radio, classical music because of course, and we spent the rest of the drive in slightly less agonizing silence. The snow started falling about an hour into the drive. First, just a few flakes, then more, until it looked like we were driving through a snow globe. The mountains rose up around us, all pine trees and white peaks, and despite my anxiety, I had to admit it was beautiful. When we finally pulled up to the cabin, I actually gasped. It was straight out of a luxury magazine, all exposed wood beams, massive windows overlooking a frozen lake, and a stone chimney that promised a fireplace big enough to roast a whole pig. We're here, Mr. Han said, turning off the engine. 3 days, just 3 days. People have survived worse. Probably, maybe. I'm going to die here. The inside of the cabin was even more impressive than the outside. There was a massive living room with leather furniture that looked expensive enough to require a loan, a kitchen with marble countertops and appliances that probably had more technology than my laptop, and floor-to-ceiling windows that show nothing but snow and trees. It was beautiful and isolating, and suddenly very, very real. Mr. Han was checking his phone, his brow furrowed slightly. The chef should be arriving within the hour. There's also supposed to be a facilities manager. And his phone rang. He answered with a crisp, Han speaking. I pretended to be fascinated by a painting on the wall, some abstract thing that was probably worth more than my entire life savings, while I tried not to obviously eavesdrop. Mr. Han's expression didn't change, but something about his posture shifted. I see. The road is closed? For how long? Pause. Both of them? And the chef? Longer pause. Understood. Keep me updated. He hung up and stood there for a moment, perfectly still. There's been a situation. Oh God. Oh no. Whatever it is, it's bad. Is there a bear? Did someone die? Are we being evacuated? Please let us be evacuated. What kind of situation? The snow is heavier than forecasted. The mountain road has been closed due to safety concerns. The chef, the facilities manager, and the cleaning staff can't make it up the mountain. So it's just us? Yes. It's just us. Alone. In a cabin. In a snowstorm. This is literally the plot of every romance novel my roommate reads. Except in those, both people are attracted to each other. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Han sees me as a moderately competent potato. For how long? At least until tomorrow evening, possibly longer. Oh, that's all I can manage. Just, because my brain was busy having a complete meltdown. Mr. Han set his phone down on the counter and looked around the cabin with the same expression he probably used to evaluate quarterly reports.
We'll need to manage ourselves, he said. There should be supplies in the kitchen. We can prepare our own meals. Right, meals that we cook ourselves. Is that a problem? No, no problem at all. I cook. Sometimes. Well, I make toast and cereal, and once I made pasta that was only slightly burnt. He looked at me for a long moment, and I swear I saw that almost smile again. I can cook, he said. Of course he can cook. He's probably a gourmet chef in addition to being a CEO. He probably speaks 7 languages and plays the violin and rescues orphaned puppies in his spare time. Oh, well, that's great. I can help. I'm an excellent helper. I can hand you things and stand nearby very helpfully. This time, he definitely almost smiled. Let's settle in first, he said. There are 2 bedrooms upstairs. Take whichever you prefer. I grabbed my bag and practically ran up the stairs before I could say anything else embarrassing. Around 6 p.m., my stomach started making sounds that could only be described as aggressive.
I'd been hiding in my room, settling in, for the past few hours, but I couldn't avoid Mr. Han forever. Plus, I was starving. I crept downstairs like a burglar in my own temporary home and found Mr. Han already in the kitchen, looking into the refrigerator with an expression of intense concentration. "There's chicken, vegetables, rice, and various other ingredients," he said without turning around. "I was thinking of preparing something simple." "Sounds great. I'll just watch and learn." Educational watching. He pulled out ingredients and set them on the counter with the kind of precision that suggested he'd done this before. Then he paused and looked at me. "You could chop the vegetables." "I can definitely chop vegetables. I'm a champion vegetable chopper. I once chopped a whole onion without crying." "That's a lie. I cried for 15 minutes. He handed me a cutting board, a knife, and several vegetables, then pointed to a bowl. "Small and even." "Got it." I started with a carrot. It went okay. Maybe a little uneven, but not terrible. Then I moved to an onion. "You should cut the root end last," Mr. Han said from across the kitchen, where he was doing something complicated with the chicken. "It holds the onion together." "Oh, right. Good tip." I adjusted my cutting technique, trying very hard to look competent. Mr. Han was seasoning the chicken with what looked like professional-level skill, and I was determined not to embarrass myself. That determination lasted exactly 4 more minutes. I was dicing a bell pepper when the knife slipped. Not badly, I didn't cut myself, but I sent a piece of pepper flying across the kitchen. It landed directly in Han Ji-woo's perfectly styled hair, like the world's worst garnish. This is it. This is how I die. Death by embarrassment. They'll find my body here, still holding this knife, my face permanently red. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. The pepper it has a mind of its own, apparently. Han Ji-woo reached up, plucked the pepper out of his hair, and looked at it. Then he looked at me. Then, and I'm still not sure I didn't hallucinate this, he laughed. Not a big laugh, just a small huff of amusement. But his eyes crinkled at the corners, and his whole face transformed into something warm and almost boyish. "Your pepper has aggressive tendencies," he said. "I'm really sorry. I'll replace your hair. I mean, not replace your hair, obviously. You don't need new hair. I meant, I don't know what I meant. I'm just sorry." He shook his head, still with that hint of a smile. "It's fine. Continue." I went back to chopping, my face burning. But somehow the kitchen felt different, less tense. The silence was still there, but it wasn't crushing anymore. Han Ji-woo moved around the kitchen with surprising ease, and I tried to focus on my vegetables instead of watching him, which was difficult because he'd rolled up his sleeves and I'd never realized that forearms could be distracting before. "Stop looking at his forearms, you absolute disaster. Focus on the vegetables. The vegetables will not judge you." "You're good at this," I said, because apparently I can't handle silence anymore. "Cooking?" "Yeah, it's impressive. Where did you learn?" He was quiet for a moment, stirring something in a pan. "My mother," he said finally. "She insisted I learn before I moved out for university. Said no son of hers would live on instant noodles. That's sweet. She was very stubborn." "Was?" "She passed away 6 years ago." "Oh, I'm so sorry." He nodded slightly, but didn't say anything else. I felt like I'd stumbled into something private and important, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. Say something comforting but not weird. Something human. Something that doesn't make you sound like a corporate sympathy card.
She sounds like she was a wonderful person, and she clearly taught you well. This smells amazing. Another tiny smile. Thank you. We worked in companionable silence after that. Well, mostly silence, except for when I dropped a spoon, twice, and when I couldn't figure out how to work the fancy rice cooker and had to ask for help. Mr. Han showed me with the patience of someone teaching a small child, which should have been embarrassing, but somehow wasn't. When dinner was finally ready, chicken with vegetables and rice that looked restaurant quality, we sat down at the dining table. The first bite was incredible. "Oh my God," I said, possibly moaning. "This is amazing. You could be a chef." "I doubt that." "No, seriously, this is better than any restaurant I've been to." "Which
Granted, it's mostly the Korean place down the street from my apartment, but still. He was eating with perfect posture and precise movements, but I could see he was pleased. He's pleased that I like his cooking. That's kind of adorable. Wait, did I just think Han Ji-woo, terrifying CEO, was adorable? I'm losing my mind. The isolation is getting to me already. So, I said, because I'm apparently incapable of just enjoying a nice meal quietly, what do CEOs do for fun? He looked up, something like surprise in his eyes. Fun? Yeah, like hobbies. Things you do when you're not being intimidating and powerful. I'm intimidating? You made Jerry from IT cry last month by asking if he tried turning it off and on again. Jerry always cries. That's fair. He considered the question while cutting his chicken with surgical precision. I read, he said, and I swim. Sometimes I play piano. You play piano? Is that surprising? A little. I don't know. I guess I never thought about you doing normal person things. What did you think I did? Honestly, I figured you just stood in your office at night, looking out the window like Batman, thinking about quarterly projections. This time he actually laughed, a real, genuine laugh that made his whole face light up. Oh no, no. That laugh is dangerous. That laugh should come with a warning label. I can feel myself getting into trouble here. So, he asked, because I'm apparently incapable of just enjoying a nice meal quietly, what do Kei Nakamura do for fun? No one had ever asked me that at work before. I was so surprised I almost dropped my fork. I play video games, and I bake sometimes, though not as well as you cook, and I read terrible romance novels that I'm absolutely not embarrassed about. What kind of romance novels? The kind with shirtless men on the covers and titles like Ravished by the Duke or The Highlander's Secret Baby. He was smiling now, actually smiling. It transformed his entire face. That's unexpected. What, you thought I read like investment prospectuses for fun? Maybe. I get enough of that at work, thank you very much. When I'm home, I want drama, adventure, and heaving bosoms. Heaving bosoms? It's a technical term. We kept talking through dinner, actual talking, back and forth, like real humans having a real conversation. He told me about a book he was reading about ancient Rome. I told him about the time I accidentally started a small fire trying to make creme brulee. By the time we finished eating, my cheeks hurt from smiling. This is nice. This is really nice. When did Han Ji-woo become a person instead of just a terrifying authority figure? And why do I keep noticing the way his eyes crinkle when he smiles? After dinner, we cleaned up together. Mr. Han washed, I dried, and we developed a rhythm that felt oddly natural. He'd hand me a plate, our fingers would brush, and I tried very hard not to overthink it. When everything was put away, Mr. Han looked toward the living room. I should start a fire, he said. It's getting cold. Need help? Do you know how to build a fire? I've seen it done in movies. I can provide moral support. He almost smiled again. I was starting to collect these almost smiles like Pokemon cards, and headed to the fireplace. I settled onto the leather couch and watched him work. He was good at this too, apparently, efficient and confident, building the logs just so before lighting them with a long match. Within minutes, there was a crackling fire casting warm, flickering light across the room. Mr. Han sat down on the other end of the couch, maintaining a respectful distance. We both stared at the fire like it was the most fascinating thing we'd ever seen. This is cozy, too cozy, dangerously cozy. I'm sitting by a fireplace with my CEO, watching the flames, and it feels like a scene from one of my terrible romance novels. Except I'm not a heaving-bosomed heroine, and he's not a duke, and this is real life, and oh God, I need to stop thinking. Thank you for dinner, I said. You didn't have to cook. We could have ordered something. The road is closed, and I wanted to. Well, it was really good. The best meal I've had in, actually, probably ever. He looked at me, the firelight catching in his eyes. You're easy to please. Is that bad? No, it's refreshing.
We fell into silence again, but this time it was comfortable. The fire popped and crackled,
Snow was falling outside the windows, visible in the moonlight. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Of course. Why did you choose me for this retreat?" He was quiet for so long I thought he wasn't going to answer. Then, "You're the only person in the office who treats me like a person." I blinked. "What?" "Everyone else is either terrified of me or trying to impress me. You're the only one who's just yourself, even when you're nervous." "I'm always nervous around you." "I know, but you're still genuine. Do you know how rare that is?" Is he serious? I'm genuine because I'm too anxious to be anything else. I can't impress him because my brain stops working when he's nearby. This is the worst compliment I've ever received, and also somehow the best. "I thought you didn't like me," I admitted. "You always seem so serious when you talk to me." "I'm always serious. It's not personal." "Then why do you look at me like you're trying to solve a complex equation?" He shifted slightly, and I could have sworn he looked almost embarrassed. "Because you're unexpected. You work harder than almost anyone else in the company, but you don't seek recognition. You're talented, but you try to hide it. You're interesting." My heart was doing something weird in my chest. Gymnastics, maybe, or trying to escape. "I'm really not that interesting. I'm literally the most boring person alive. My idea of an exciting Friday night is reorganizing my bookshelf." "See, that's interesting to me. Most people I meet are so busy trying to be extraordinary that they forget how to be real." Is this happening? Is my CEO sitting by a fireplace in a snowstorm telling me I'm interesting? Am I having a very elaborate stress dream? Should I pinch myself? "I've been watching your work for the past year," he continued, his voice quieter now. "Your attention to detail, your consistency, the way you stay late to help other people even though no one asks you to. The time you caught that error in the quarterly report that would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. You knew about that?" "I know about everything that happens in my company, Key." The way he said my name, just my first name, soft and warm, did something to my insides. "I thought I was invisible," I said quietly. "You're not. You never were. At least not to me." The fire crackled, snow fell, and somewhere in that moment, something shifted between us. Something subtle and fragile and terrifying. "I'm not good at this," Mr. Hahn said suddenly. "At what?" "Talking. To people. Outside of work contexts. My entire life is structured around professional interactions and business objectives. This," he gestured vaguely between us, "is not something I'm practiced at." "You're doing fine." "Am I?" I spent the entire car ride panicking about how to start a conversation. I rehearsed 12 different opening lines and discarded all of them. I stared at him. "You were nervous?" "Terrified." "But you're Han Ji-woo. You give presentations to boards of directors. You negotiate multi-million-dollar deals. Those have scripts and structures and clear objectives. This doesn't. You don't." He was nervous about talking to me. Han Ji-woo, CEO, actual intimidating genius, was nervous about talking to me, the guy who once got his tie stuck in a filing cabinet. What is happening to my life? "For what it's worth, I think you're doing great. This is the best conversation I've had in months, maybe years." "You need better conversations." "Or maybe," I said, feeling brave because of the firelight and the snow and the surreal nature of this entire situation, "maybe you're just better at this than you think." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something in his expression made my breath catch. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Anything. When I saw your name on the Employee of the Year list, I volunteered to do this retreat myself. The board suggested sending you to a conference or hiring an external consultant. I insisted it should be me. Why? Because I wanted to spend time with you, outside of the office, where you might actually talk to me like a human being instead of your boss." My brain was short-circuiting, actual sparks, blue screen of death. What? I'm not good at this, he said again, and now I could see the vulnerability in his eyes. I don't know how to be around people I actually care about. I don't have friends. I barely have family. I work 80 hours a week because I don't know what else to do with myself. And then you came along, being yourself, working hard, making terrible jokes in the break room, and I found myself looking forward to seeing you, even just in passing, even just a glimpse. This is not happening. This cannot be happening. This is a fever dream. I'm still asleep. I never woke up this morning. I'm in my bed having the most elaborate anxiety dream of my life. Mr. Han, Ji Woo, he said. Please, call me Ji Woo. Ji Woo, I repeated, and his name felt strange and wonderful in my mouth. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that this wasn't a corporate retreat to me, that you're not just an employee, that when I look at you, I see someone remarkable, even if you can't see it yourself. The fire popped loudly, making me jump. We both laughed, and some of the tension broke.
I think you might have me confused with someone else, I said. Someone who doesn't trip over their own feet twice a day and who knows how to use the photocopier without calling IT. I like that you call IT. It shows humility. It shows incompetence. It shows you're human. We sat there, looking at each other in the firelight, and I realized that somewhere between the awkward car ride and the vegetable chopping and the dinner conversation, I'd stopped seeing him as my terrifying CEO and started seeing him as just Ji Woo, just a person who was lonely and awkward and trying his best, just a person who, apparently, had noticed me all along. I like you too, I blurted out, because subtlety has never been my strong suit. Just so you know. I mean, you terrify me, but in like a I want to impress you way, not a I think you're going to fire me way. And you have really nice forearms. I noticed that earlier and tried not to notice, but I failed, and now I'm telling you about it, which is probably inappropriate, but apparently we're being honest now, so there it is. He was smiling. Actually, genuinely smiling, with teeth and everything. I have nice forearms? Very nice, distractingly nice. I burned myself with the steam from the rice cooker because I was looking at your forearms instead of what I was doing. You didn't tell me you burned yourself? It was minor and embarrassing. He reached down, slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a skittish animal, and took my hand. His hand was warm and larger than mine, and my brain immediately forgot how to function. Is this okay? He asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. We sat there, hands linked, watching the fire. His thumb brushed over my knuckles in a gesture so gentle it made my chest ache. This is real. This is actually genuinely real. Han Ji Woo is holding my hand by a fireplace in a snowstorm, and he likes me. Me, the disaster who can't work a photocopier. What is my life? What happens when we go back? I asked quietly. I don't know. We'll figure it out. This is probably against some kind of company policy. I'm the CEO. I can change the policies. That seems like an abuse of power. Probably. Do you mind? Not even a little bit. He laughed, and I felt it resonate somewhere deep in my chest. We stayed up talking until almost midnight about everything and nothing. Our childhoods, our dreams, our fears. He told me about the pressure of taking over his father's company. I told him about my perpetual fear of being found out as a fraud. Eventually, we moved closer together on the couch, and his arm ended up around my shoulders. It felt natural, easy, like we'd done this 100 times before. I should probably go to bed, I said, even though I didn't want to move. Probably. Neither of us moved. Or, he said carefully, we could stay here a while longer. That sounds good. And so we did. We stayed there, wrapped up in each other and the warmth of the fire, while the snow fell silently outside and the world felt very far away. Epilogue, Monday morning.
Monday morning, I walked into the office feeling like a completely different person. The weekend had been perfect. After that night by the fire, we'd spent the rest of the retreat actually doing some leadership mentoring. Jiwoo was a good teacher when he wasn't being intimidating, but mostly we just talked and laughed and sat close to each other. We'd agreed to keep things quiet at first, professional, but as I walked past his office, he looked up and smiled at me. A real smile, just for me. And I smiled back. Yuna from HR caught me at the coffee machine. "So, how was the retreat? Survived the weekend with Mr. Han?" "It was great," I said, trying to sound casual. "Really educational." "That's good. You look different somehow. More confident." "Do I?" "Yeah. It's nice. The retreat must have really worked." "Oh, it worked all right, just not in the way the board intended." That afternoon, I got an email from Jiwoo's assistant asking me to come to his office at 5 p.m. When I arrived, he was standing by the window looking out at the city. "Close the door," he said, my heart racing. He turned to face me, and I saw that tiny smile I'd learned to recognize. "I've been thinking about company policy and about what's appropriate and about whether it's possible to date someone who works for you without it being problematic. And I've decided that I don't care. Well, I do care, but I care more about you than I care about corporate propriety. Is that your way of asking me out? Is it working?" I won Employee of the Year and got a weekend alone with the CEO, who turned out to be a secretly sweet, socially awkward person who makes amazing chicken and has really nice forearms. So, yes, it's definitely working. He crossed the room and stood in front of me, close enough that I could see the gold flecks in his eyes. "Dinner tonight?" he asked. "Will you cook?" "I'll cook." "Then absolutely yes." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, and I swear my heart stopped. "I'm glad you won that award," he said softly. "Me too, even if the prize was terrifying at first." "Only at first?" "Well, you did grow on me, like a very handsome fungus." He laughed. That full, genuine laugh I'd discovered this weekend, and I realized I'd do anything to keep hearing that sound. This is my life now. I'm dating my CEO. The man who once made an intern cry is making me dinner. I'm calling him by his first name. I'm holding his hand in his office. And somehow, impossibly, it all feels exactly right. So, yeah, I won Employee of the Year. And my prize? It turned out to be the beginning of something I never saw coming. Something that started with an awkward car ride and burnt vegetables and too much snow. Something that felt like coming home. Best prize ever. The end.